Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for a poetry discussion, which will take place in two separate playlists here on the channel. Number one, obviously, being the poetry discussion playlist, a playlist cruising ever more steady towards 300 separate poetry discussions, as well as the Charles Bukowski playlist, a playlist cruising towards 100 separate poetry discussions for Charles Bukowski. It is hot as all get out for some reason. I'm not sure why I'm sweating like I am. You'll have to pardon me. But we have from Bukowski a poem which is brief, but brevity is the soul of wit, right? Pull a string, a puppet moves. Each man must realize that it can all disappear very quickly. The cat, the woman, the job, the front tire, the bed, the walls, the room, all are necessities, including love, rest on foundations of sand. And any given cause, no matter how unrelated, the death of a boy in Hong Kong or a blizzard in Omaha, can serve as your undoing. All your chinaware crashing to the kitchen floor, your girl will enter and you'll be standing, drunk, in the center of it, and she'll ask, "My God, what's the matter?" And you'll answer, "I don't know. I don't know." Bukowski is one of the most undercover stoics you will ever meet. Now, to be a stoic is to practice stoicism. And just like with sport, practice makes perfect, but practice is not perfect. So when you practice a philosophy, many people practice a religion for all intents and purposes. This is a similar thing. Do you know anyone who tells you, "Oh, yeah, I'm a perfect Christian"? "Oh, I'm the best Muslim you'll ever meet"? "Oh, you've never met a Jew as perfect as me"? No. Uh, Practice your religion is the way that it is so often um, communicated. And in as much, oftentimes, Bukowski fails, or Chinaski fails in practicing Stoicism, but the idea behind the poem will be a Stoic idea. It will be the observation that because I got so angry and beat up the guy in the Porsche, I've done something wrong, which is the sort of stoic realization. So I want to read you a poem, or not a poem, a quote. A quote from the Daily Stoic. This is January 1st, Control and Choice. The quote itself comes to us from Epictetus, and it reads as such: "The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where, then, do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own." So, um, you are late to work because that guy cut you off and then started driving 15 miles an hour. Well, still, it's your fault. You should have been on the road earlier. You control the time that you leave your house. You don't control what happens along the way. All of these things in this Bukowski poem are reacting to the things along the way. So we have this little admission here halfway through the poem. No matter how unrelated the thing is, like the death of a boy in Hong Kong or a blizzard in Omaha, it can serve as your undoing. It can only serve as your undoing insofar as you are willing to make the wrong choices in response. That thing happens. There is a blizzard in Omaha. All of a sudden, your favorite meal. So the place where you shop for your favorite meal at the Dollar General, the blizzard in Omaha stopped the deliveries. Your favorite meal isn't there. You get angry. All of a sudden, your day is ruined. You ruined your own day. And, well, that's a silly example because you're talking about your favorite meal. You're not going hungry afterwards. Well, the example given here is Chinaware. Who needs fancy dishes? No one needs fancy dishes. So it's every bit as strange and esoteric an example as Bukowski himself has given in this poem. There is nothing. So take the big things. Someone you're close to, you find out they have a terminal illness. Maybe you find out you have a terminal illness. That's as bad as it gets. So the badness, the evil, is already there. How you respond to that is your own decision. You can make it your own undoing. But so, for example, someone important to you, someone very close to you, finds out there is a terminal disease. That's very sad. That's awful. But it means that person has a limited amount of time left. How do you want to help them spend that time? By brooding? By being sad or angry? The Stoics tell us that's not the way to do it. The Stoics tell us that in the worst of news, you have to find the best going forward, because no matter what your reaction is, it is not going to change that news. So, you find out someone important to you has a terminal illness. If you are angry and sad and depressed and bitter, it's not going to take that illness away. It's just going to make you less worthwhile for your loved one in their end times. There's a saying from, is it Eric? Not Eric Thomas. I'm not going to remember who it's from. Make the rest of your days the best of your days, right? That is especially true, assuming you know how many or roughly how many the rest of your days might be. So, one thing that I have often been guilty of in my life is putting myself in the mental space of worst case scenario. It's sort of a defense mechanism. If I prepare for the absolute worst case scenario, nothing that actually happens can make me all that distraught. But in doing that, what I end up doing is accepting the worst case scenario and moving forward as if the worst case scenario has happened. Neither is that particularly useful in a life on a life scale. Maybe it's useful from time to time with a thing or that. You have a bad visit at work and you think, I'm going to lose my job over this one. Well, you prepare for that, and if it doesn't happen, then you get to make up for it by the next time you have a visit. But we have here from Bukowski that same type of mindset. We have no news here of anything having gone wrong. We have Bukowski, or we have the speaker telling us, this is what happens. You have no control over the circumstance, and all of a sudden your entire world is turned upside down. You've lost everything. Everything is gone. That's what our speaker is telling us. But our speaker is telling us that from the perspective of Stoicism, because someone who is not even granularly Stoic would not be able to recognize these things in advance. Our speaker does. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you enjoy what I do here, or you appreciate it, hitting the like button tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, consider hitting the subscribe button in order to stick around for more, because there's poetry discussions every Monday on the channel, but there are multiple videos on literature every single week. Literature is the only thing that I talk about on this channel, and I hope to have you back for the next one.